Hey everyone, let's learn about error boundaries. What problem does it solve? JavaScript errors inside components used to corrupt React's internal state and cause it to emit cryptic errors on the next renders. In short, when runtime errors occur, React unmounts the whole React tree and shows the errors. Let's understand this by an example. Create one folder here, and in the folder create one file. Let's name it as errordemo.js. I'm creating a functional component using a React snippets by just writing rfce. Pass props in the component, and let's write a condition. If props.name is not equal to codebugs, then we will throw a new error which states that there is an error. Else it will return props.name. Import it in the app.js file. Pass name equals codebugs as props. Save it, and it's showing the props.name value. Now let's try to change it a little, and it is throwing an error that we have expected. Let's just write f file here and try again. In the development environment, React throws error on the screen like this, but not in the production environment. So let's close this error screen. Still, it isn't display anything. At least it should display app file because error occurred on another component. In short, it removes the whole React tree and displays nothing. Now for the solution of this problem, error boundaries are React components that catch JavaScript errors anywhere. Error boundaries are React components that catch JavaScript errors anywhere in their child component tree and log those errors and display a fallback UI instead of component tree that crashed. For this, there are two lifecycle methods available. First is a static getDerivedState from error method. This lifecycle is invoked after an error has been thrown by a descendant component. It receives the error that was thrown as a parameter and should update the state so the next render will show the fallback UI. The second method is a component did catch. This lifecycle is invoked after an error has been thrown by a descendant component. It receives two parameters. One is error, the error that was thrown, and second is the info, which is an object containing information about which component threw an error. This method should be used for things like logging errors. Let's create one component, name it counterdemo.js. This component is just a simple counter. Create count state, initialize its value as a 0 and display it as this.state.count. Create one button called increment. And on increment method, create one method, let's say handle click. Increment count state value by 1 in this method. Now what we will do, if this.state.count is equals 5, then throw an error which states error occurred. Else return the count value and button. Import it in the app file and let's test it. As you can see, whenever we reach at the value 5, React throws an error. To handle this error, let's create error boundaries. Create one file called error boundaries, and in this file initialize one state has error to false. And we will use the first method, which is a get derived state from error. Set has error to true inside this method. In short, whenever error occurs, has error state becomes true. Let's put a condition on rendering that if this.state.has error is true, then we will return a fallback UI. In this fallback UI, for now, let's write display error or fallback UI. Else we will return the children passed to it. Save this and let's use it in the app.js file. Wrap this error demo component inside the error boundaries we have already created. And if you close this error on the screen, you can see that it displayed our fallback UI instead of nothing. Also in the log, you can see all the details regarding the error. Let's try it with a counter demo component. On count number 5, it displays fallback UI as we have expected. Now if you wrap all the components inside error boundaries, if error occurs in one component, then other component will not display anything as you can see here. So it is better to place error boundaries around each component separately so that behavior of another component won't change. As you can see, error occurred at count component, but it didn't affect the other components. Let's display error in more details using a second method called component.didCatch. Now in the error boundaries, add two more states called error and error info. Initialize both of them with an empty string. Let's use component.didCatch method. This method will return us two information. First is error and second error info. Let's log both of them. As you can see error, and in the error info you can see an object with the key component stack which shows us a specific location where error has occurred. Remove this log line and set both states here. Instead of this message, let's display error and error info. For error, write this.state.error.toString so that it will convert it to a string. And in the error info, as we have seen already, it's an object with the key component stack. So display it accordingly. Save this and let's check. It's working great and displaying all the details. Now error boundaries don't catch errors for first is event handlers, asynchronous code, server-side rendering, and error thrown in the error boundary itself. Remember, a class component becomes error boundary by defining either or both of the error boundary lifecycle methods. That's it for this video. Like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.